Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. If you clicked on this video, then you know what time it is. It's time for weapons you've never tried because they're really poorly placed and probably hot garbage. I'm, still workshopping that title. Anywho, time to play around with a weapon type that gets limited use due to its limited application. The Greatbow. But there's a problem. The Greatbow is impossible to get in the early game without glitches or cheating. And even if you do somehow obtain a Greatbow at the start of the game, none of the classes can wield it. So here's what we're gonna do. Because I have to use some less than savory methods to give myself the proper weapon and stats before the start of the run, we're gonna give ourselves an entirely different limitation. And besides, I like to keep it interesting whenever I do one of these weapon showcases. So today, we're gonna find out. Can you beat Dark Souls 1 with only 100 Greatbow arrows? Alright, so let's talk about the Greatbow. It's big, it's hefty, and it hits like a truck. The only problem is, what the heck is that?
Oh no, who could have done this? Sounds like you're in need of legal assistance. Good thing this video is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm, with more than 100 offices nationwide, over 800 local lawyers, and 4,000 support staff available at any hour to help you with your case. And now, they're focused on making the legal claim process easier than ever. Were you involved in a freak Greatbow accident? Injured and don't know where to start? With Morgan & Morgan, it's so easy. Utilizing the power of the internet, you can now handle a majority of your case online. You can submit your case details, sign contracts, send case documents and records through your phone, and text your attorneys whenever you have a question about your case. In fact, with Morgan & Morgan, you could submit a claim without ever having to leave the couch. And if you're worried about starting the process of submitting a claim, you can rest easy. Now, in 8 clicks or less, you can submit a claim to Morgan & Morgan and get the ball rolling. And don't forget, there's no fee involved. Everything is completely free of charge. You only pay if they win your case. So, if you're ever injured in an accident, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/thebacklogs or dial pound LAW, that's pound 529, from your cell phone and submit a claim in 8 clicks or less without ever having to leave your couch. Isn't that right, Lemon?
Anyway, as I was saying, the Greatbow is massive. Not only does this thing take up more screen space than I would like, but it also weighs enough to drag a new character down to mid-rolling on its own. As far as movesets go, there's not a whole lot to talk about. It can aim, just like other bows, and if you mess around with the D-pad while aiming, you can zoom in and out. Normally a pretty lackluster feature, but considering the Greatbow can hit enemies from all the way across the map and keep its damage, you might actually use that feature for once. At least in the obligatory PvP montage you'll be making with this thing. Outside of aiming, you can draw an arrow, but good lord are you looking at some heavy draw times. Which is why it's definitely a good thing that you can choose to either hold your arrow until you're ready to let it fly, or you can change your mind and reposition. You'll be using that second option. A lot. And that's it. That's all it can do. So, with nothing else to explain, let's test this bad boy out.
What, half?
Was that a fluke? Maybe that was a counter hit or something. Nope, right, okay. So yeah, that's the Greatbow in a nutshell. Massive damage even unupgraded, so long as you can keep distance between you and your prey. But what if you can't? And what if you've only got 98 arrows to work with? Hang on to your hoodies, everyone. I'm about to make some very stupid decisions. Intentionally this time. First things first, we gotta beef up this build in every conceivable way, all while avoiding using arrows whenever possible. Which means we're going on several adventures. First stop, the Valley of Drakes. Hey Sven, how's the kids? As anyone who's invested a few too many hours into this game knows, the Valley of Drakes has a special ring that's very important for any try-hard build. And while I hate to admit it, this challenge is going to force us to try very hard. There we are, the Red Tearstone Ring. A ring that when worn gives you a 50% boost to all damage whenever your health drops below 20%. Which sounds like a lot when you say it out loud, but in practice, that basically puts you into one-shot range of most enemies. Glass cannon, yay! But we're not done yet. Time to take the back door to Blighttown, where I struggle greatly to get past the crag spiders, just barely speed up the ladders fast enough to avoid toxic blow dart snipers, and via methods that even I don't fully comprehend, trick the infested ghouls to get out of my way. Oh hey, free poison moss. Now I just need to sneak past the wall parasite and we're home free. I hate this place. But after a few more unsuccessful attempts, I was able to finally nab Power Within from under the parasite's mandibles. We're not going to talk about how many attempts it took. No, instead, we're going to talk about the next leg of our journey, the Great Hollow. Now, I like this place just about as much as I like Blighttown. It's a mess, full of sticks, slippery platforms, and overexcited gravity, with a few basilisks thrown in for good measure. Literally all the worst parts of Dark Souls rolled into one area. But here's the thing. This hollow tree stump has some very good loot, and while we don't need all of it, we are after a few of its smaller inhabitants. That's right, it's time to go crystal lizard hunting.
Nice shot!
There are 10 lizards hiding in the hollow, and all of them are nearly impossible to catch on your first run through. But if you quit out of your play session, then load right back in, the lizard will respawn at its starting point, giving you another chance to kill it. Though once you kill it, it's gone forever. If for some reason it doesn't respawn, just quit and reload your save again until it does. Apparently it's not a 100% guarantee that it'll respawn every single time, which was really fun to learn in the middle of a run that absolutely needs crystal lizards. Because while it did cost me 5 arrows, every crystal lizard in the game is guaranteed to drop 2 Twinkling Titanite on death, and 5 times 2 is 10. Guess how many Twinkling Titanite the Greatbow needs to reach maximum upgrade level? So, with all the materials collected, I just need a blacksmith. I scoot on past Havel, clamber up the Darkroot Garden Basin, and finally arrive at the back entrance of Andre's shop. There's just one problem though. We may be material rich, but we are soul poor. And unless we waste even more arrows, we're not going to be able to upgrade this bow unless we can find a way to get some souls on the cheap. But I've got an idea. First things first, we need to make our way through the Undead Parish backwards. I grab the basement key, because why not? Then take away the satisfaction of that one undead soldier, you know the one, and close the gate myself. Oh, look who it is. You may want to move, past the pig, past the spearmen and the rats, and there we go. Shortcut unlocked. Which, by the way, is the name of my second channel. It's called Shortcut Unlocked, and it's where I live stream a lot, and which means we now have access to a large amount of free and easy souls. Thanks, Papa Drake. I use these new free souls to buy a residence key. You'll see why in a bit. Then grind out souls a bit longer until I have enough to upgrade my bow to +5. And with that bit of homework taken care of, we can now use our basement key we picked up earlier to unlock the lower undead burg, and our new residence key to unlock the door keeping Griggs trapped. The dogs were a bit of a problem at first, but after explaining that this flaming pile of bodies is in fact food if you want it badly enough, the problem took care of itself. Griggs, I gotta ask, how did you lock yourself inside a house? Next you'll be asking me to help you out because you locked yourself inside your car. But with Griggs back safe and sound at Firelink Shrine, he's now more than happy to sell me some goodies. Namely the Lingering Dragoncrest ring. And with that, our build is done, at least for the time being. Now, if you're one of my audience members who doesn't actually play Dark Souls and has no idea what's going on, hi Dad, let me explain the monster I've just created. This character has a giant bow that does hundreds of damage with each shot. This character also has a single spell, a spell that increases your damage by 40% for 100 seconds. I also have 2 rings, one which increases the aforementioned 100 seconds to 150, and the other which increases that already massive damage by another 50% whenever I'm about to die. Which means, if I'm able to artificially get myself into near-death range, then cast my spell, I'm now in what the Dark Souls community so lovingly calls
Hyper mode.
Who's ready to see me wreck some bosses? There's just one tiny problem. This takes a lot of time to set up. Time I don't really have. So yeah, welcome to the challenge portion of the challenge run. You know, aside from that whole 100 arrows thing. Thankfully, with a little pre-planning, we can get into hyper mode range without even entering the boss arena. And with a little careful dodging and very deliberate timing, we can take our first shot. And only shot, apparently. Once more with feeling. And there you go. That's the first bell rung with 91 arrows remaining. Sounds good, right? Well, forgive me for not sharing your optimism, but no. No, it's not. See, we've only cleared 2 bosses so far, and we're already nearly 10% of the way through our ammunition. Last I checked, Dark Souls has 26 boss encounters, and while the comments are very quick to point out that I suck at math, 2 out of 26 doesn't sound like 10% to me. And that's not even considering that boss health pools are only going to increase from here. One-shotting bosses with our current build is likely already a thing of the past, which means we're gonna have to get creative. If you've ever wondered what the minimum amount of bosses you can beat in Dark Souls is without glitches, congratulations, you're about to get your answer. Time for Quelaag. After some quick napkin math, it's looking like it's going to take 3 shots to beat her, even if we manage to stay in hyper mode. Unfortunately, 3 shots in hyper mode is probably going to take too much time to set up. We simply can't stay in hyper mode long enough without healing or dying to our own damage. So, I compromised. For my first shot, I decided to just use the red tearstone ring's 50% damage, with pretty significant results. I then popped my single cast of Power Within, followed by gingerly stepping in some lava and getting not so gingerly hit with Quelaag's sword. I then fired off a shot that only took advantage of Power Within's 40% damage, followed by one last shot taken while in hyper mode's 90%. And after that little damage showcase, Quelaag goes down. That's 3 bosses down, both bells rung, and 88 arrows left to our name. As expected, any notion we might have had about one-shotting bosses is already evaporated. After all, Quelaag is still an early game boss in comparison to everything else we're going to be facing, and she ate up 3 of our arrows as it is. But it is worth noting that we were able to skip past the Taurus Demon, the Capra Demon, the Moonlight Butterfly, the Stray Demon, and the Gaping Dragon. So, technically speaking, that's 8 of 26 bosses down, with only 11 arrows used. Yay, skewed statistics! That's quite the weapon you have there. By the way, did you know? Bow damage is directly proportional to size. Glad we understand each other. Up next is the Golem. I buffed myself up before entering the arena, then sprint to the other side. Not only does this let me avoid the Firebomb Giant, who is actually alive for once, but also because I want the Golem to stay on shaky ground. Because while we may not be able to deal much damage in the way of his total health bar, we can do enough damage to stagger him. Follow that up with another arrow, and you can just let gravity do the work. 9 of 26 bosses down, 85 arrows left. Yes, I know that should be 86. I missed once, okay? Time for a quick sprint through Anor Londo. Just lift them hammies, Lemon. You got the— You idiot! You stupid idiot! You had one job! Oh, hey look, friends. First try, let's go. And after luring one of the infamous Anor Londo archers to his unfortunate demise, we can now begin the fight I've been most dreading this entire time. Ornstein and Smo are a hard fight for me on a good day. It takes careful planning and timing to get in damage with a normal weapon, or a healthy dose of luck, which I appear to be short on at the moment. Turns out, finding an animation where someone isn't barreling down on you with terrible intent is kinda hard in this fight, especially when you've got a weapon that takes 3 millennia to operate. But all is not lost. After changing up my armor a bit so that I could more easily get into the red Tearstone range, I buffed myself prior to the fight and decided to bring the fight to them. No more waiting for an opportunity. Clearly that's for chumps. No, if you want a job done right, sometimes you just gotta go out and do it yourself. Huh, would you look at that? Results. And with Ornstein out of the way, Smo is a much easier target. He's got a bit too much health for me to bother trying to stay in hyper mode range, so I decided to play it safe and just let Power Within pull our weight. And after convincing Smo that getting caught on pillars is the new hotness, he goes down with little effort. 76 arrows left. Not too shabby. While our guy goes ahead and gets the ability to warp, let's have a quick chat. At this point in the game, we've got the 4 Lord Souls to collect. And if I had my way, those are essentially the only bosses we'd bother with. Unfortunately, we can't avoid everyone, but I think I can remove a good portion of the bosses between me and the end without too many issues. One of which is Gwendolyn. No hair ticking for me today, thank you. I've got bigger and better things I need to do. First up on the list is Nito. I head into the catacombs, skip the entire zone, ignore the locals and their unique idea of hospitality, and before you know it, we're at Pinwheel. And just as quickly, we're done with Pinwheel. A little hyper mode and 2 shots later, and that's all she wrote. Alright, boys and girls, place your bets now. Oh, sure, RNGesus blesses me now. Into the deep dark depths, where I deny Patches the satisfaction of pushing me into a hole and grab myself a lantern. Time to collect a key component to our final build. I pop a humanity and turn myself human, then invite Paladin Leroy out to play. Alright, Lemon, we've only got one chance at this, don't fuck this up. Leroy, my dude, can I interest you in a face full of Greatarrow? Remember, only 1 per customer, all sales are final. But with Leroy properly disposed of, we now have access to our final shield, the Sanctus. Now, I know what you're thinking. Lemon, what on earth do you want the Sanctus for? You can't use a shield when you've got a Greatbow. And you're right. Hell, I don't even have the faith to properly wield the thing. But you can use the shield's special property. The Sanctus regenerates 2 HP every 2 seconds, which sounds pretty terrible. And, it is. However, it is enough to keep Power Within from murdering me. Or it will be if we meet the right criteria. For now, it just lengthens the amount of time we have before death. But with 3 arrows spent, bringing us down to 70, we now have the Duskcrown Ring, which has a very special property. The Duskcrown Ring gives you 50% more casts when it comes to spells, miracles, and pyromancies, but it reduces your health by 50%. And considering it actually doesn't increase Power Within's casts, you'd think this ring would be useless to us. And if I was sane, you'd be right. But if you're still under the impression that I am anything even close to sane at this point, hi, welcome to the Backlogs. You must be new here. And to really hammer home that point, let's reduce our health bar even further by breathing in some very questionable gases.
Goes down smooth.
And now, with our health reduced to 25%, let's see the results. Yep, there you go. Power Within's health drain fully negated. Now at this point, everyone but the most undead veterans of Dark Souls is probably screaming at me. Why on Gwyn's good Lordran would you do that to your health bar? Wasn't it bad enough that you weren't putting any points into Vitality? Oh, sweet summer child, how green you are. Come along, let me bestow you with knowledge. Power Within is a very special spell. It drains 1% of your health bar every second. No matter how much health you have, Power Within is guaranteed to kill you in 100 seconds if you don't heal in some capacity. However, if your health bar is small enough, say around 100 HP, then Power Within only takes 1 HP per second. Sanctus heals 2 HP every 2 seconds. Thus have we reached equilibrium, which doesn't help you at all, unless you've managed to dip your health below 20% and you have the red Tearstone ring equipped. Did the light bulb click yet? That's right, boys and girls, we have achieved
Infinite hyper mode.
100 seconds of 90% damage increase, without the risk of dying to our own hubris. That's math, baby! And just in time for Nito. Time to see what this build can do. There's just one small problem. Or 3, actually. Nito's skeleton summons. I don't think I need to tell you that having less than 20 HP is a one-hit kill from even the most basic of Dark Souls enemies. And considering we need every arrow to count, this fight just became 2 times worse than Ornstein and Smo. So, even though we just spent a long time getting this build set up, we're gonna have to shelve it for now in favor of a completely different one. First things first, we need to go to Sen's Fortress to get the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring, followed by a quick trip via the Velka Express. Kaka. Turns out, Snuggly the Crow is fond of an item that we no longer need, the Skull Lantern, which, if we drop and then pick up again, becomes a Ring of Fog. Combine these 2 rings and you become both completely soundless and invisible, which reduces the aggro range of every enemy dramatically, making the run-ups to bosses much easier. But this actually has another effect as well. Turns out, while the rings will never work on bosses themselves, it does work on their summons. Which means, so long as we wear both rings, Nito's skeletons will just stand there, waiting for a fight that will never come. Now, unfortunately, if we remove either ring, the skeletons will go right back into trying to kill me. Which means hyper mode is unfortunately out unless we want to deal with a minimum of 4 enemies at once. Yeah, no, gonna pass on that one, thank you. Fun fact, if you get lucky, there's a chance that Nito will actually get stuck behind the skeletons for the entire fight. And if you've got a long enough range weapon, you can safely plink him down from the entrance. Now, RNGesus is very upset with me at the moment, so we had no such luck. But it took Nito about half of his health bar to reach me, so I'm not complaining. And so long as we keep running away, the likelihood of Nito catching us with an attack is pretty minimal, making this fight the safest it's ever been. This fight is in the oh god. Oh god, put it away! Stop drawing the bow! Right, moving on. 3 more Lord Souls to go, with 61 arrows remaining. Call me crazy, but I think we might actually make it. I say hello to Seath, who, despite being blind, can somehow hear me with my Slumbering Dragon Crest ring on. Then prove that, just like the crossbow run, Greatarrows cannot fit through the bars. That's a mulligan, by the way. That was a shot for footage. It doesn't count. Just pretend I'm holding my great arrow in my hand and poking it through the bars. Okay? Okay. Anywho, all it takes is a quick sprint through the archives, followed by a light jog through the crystal caves, and before you know it, we've arrived at Seath. This fight is upsettingly easy. I let Seath destroy his own research with a breath attack, tickled my feet with some crystals until I get into red Tearstone range, then let fly my arrows. 1,272 damage. Not bad at all. Now, it is important to note that his breath attacks have a pretty wide range, so if you're not careful, you'll get caught in the blast zone. But if you're deliberate about running from one end of the arena to the other, you'll be fine. Combine this with the fact that it takes Seath an eternity to turn around and chase you, and this fight becomes a trivial exercise in positioning. 2 Lord Souls down, 56 arrows remaining. Now for something completely different. Time for Sif. Unlike Seath, Sif is quick, can cross the entire arena in a single move, and is pretty damn aggressive. However, she has one attack that is safe to take advantage of, her double swing attack. This animation locks her into place, giving you more than enough time to get a shot off and dodge whatever attack comes next. So, with 4 shots removed from our quiver, we can now move on to the 4 kings. Boy, sure am glad I'm cursed right now. So excited that I can actually hit ghosts without using transient curses. Oh boy, so very excited! I chit-chat with Ingward for a bit, then get murdered repeatedly by the residents of New Londo, which is super great considering Firelink Shrine is currently unlit. Law Trek. Now to just let some ghosts bring me down into red Tearstone range and we can— wait, stop, too much, I only needed a little bit! You know what? Let's change targets. The Bed of Chaos is probably easier. Yep, much easier. So much easier. There we are, some humanities. A key part of my plans. Now, if you all could just let me get past, I'll be on my— oh, okay, no, sure, that's fine, I didn't want to live anyway. So, the Bed of Chaos. Sitting all the way at the end of a boss gauntlet, you'd think I'd be concerned about my arrow count. However, what if I told you there's a way to skip all of it? All it costs is 30 humanity, which we don't exactly have at the moment. Might need this later, you never know. Alright, Patches, you win. Go ahead and get your kicks. Now pay up.
Oh, for heaven's sake, let's not mope about, eh?
Well, that felt dirty. But yeah, we're gonna have to do some exploring to find enough humanity to get us to 30. Which is a bit easier said than done when you remember that you can't fight any enemies while doing so. But such is our task. But once we've got it all, we can free ourselves from our curse, because we're gonna need all the health we can get, swing on down to the Fair Lady, pop everything we've got, then give the Fair Lady all 30 of our liquid humanities. And after feeding her all 30, we've officially reached the highest rank of her covenant. Now, being rank 2 in the Chaos Servants grants you a few things. It gives us several pyromancies that I can't use, but it also gives us access to a secret tunnel in Lost Islith. So let's get to it. I grabbed the gold-hemmed armor set, because we're gonna need all the fire resistance we can get, then jump into the abyss. Huh, turns out the death box is actually in midair. There's something new today. After that, it's just a short fall down into the lava, followed by a spicy walk across the lava waterfall, and then just a few quick rolls past the Capra Demon guarding the entrance to Lost Islith. And with our invisibility and muffling rings equipped, it doesn't take much to get past all the remaining enemies. Which means we are now free to use our secret tunnel. Secret tunnel, secret tunnel, secret tunnel. For those unaware, the secret tunnel lets you skip the entire boss gauntlet, bringing you all the way to the Bed of Chaos's boss arena with minimal issue. It's a beautiful thing. So, time for the Bed of Chaos. I actually learned 2 things this go around. Firstly, wearing the stealth rings actually makes the Bed of Chaos a lot less aggressive, so that's worth noting for the future. And second, while I was fully expecting this fight to take 3 arrows, it turns out you can actually just roll into the Bed of Chaos's roots and break them that way. Weird. And yes, this does work on both sets of roots, which means what was originally supposed to take 3 arrows is only going to take 1. 1 shot, 1 kill. And so, with 51 great arrows remaining, it's time for the final Lord Soul, the 4 Kings. Now, you may have noticed I look a little different, and that's because I realized that this fight was not going to be easy no matter how you slice it. Not only are the kings a little slippery and hard to hit with my arrows, god damn it, but because my vitality is so low, even wearing excessively defensive armor isn't going to keep this from being a close fight. So, with Power Within activated, the Abyss Walker and Lingering Dragon Crest rings adorned, and all my hopes and dreams placed on the fact that the kings do slightly less damage when you're snuggled up close to them, I began unloading arrow after arrow into their ghostly hides. And let me tell ya, it wasn't a clean fight. I almost ran out of Estus, and Lord knows I don't have any more humanity to use. In the end, it cost me 19 arrows and a few gray hairs, but eventually, the 4 kings went down. Which means it's finally time. With all the souls collected, there's only one boss left to go. Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. And if I'm being completely honest, I'm a bit concerned. Not about my arrow count though. If Gwyn takes 32 arrows to kill, I'll eat my controller. No, what I'm actually worried about is how much damage Gwyn does and how quickly he can attack. There's a significant chance that we won't be able to attack fast enough. And true to form, Gwyn is more than happy to prove exactly that. This could be a problem, is what I would say if I hadn't already changed this build 2 or 3 times now already. Time for one last adaptation. I grabbed 2 more rings, one for physical defense and one for fire resistance, pop on Power Within before the fight, and after dressing faster than a high schooler late for the bus, it's time to go full tank mode. But first, a sampler. Oh, like that one, did you? Here, have another. Yeah, we got this one by the... okay, never mind. So, tank mode. Pretty simple in concept, though a bit hard to execute. Basically, you just do your best to parry Gwyn's attacks whenever you can, then use the brief respite you've now created to either heal or take your shot. And yes, Gwyn can be stunned with your arrows, though it doesn't work every time. The nice thing is, if he decides to take a swing at you when you take your shot, you'll actually get counter damage, doing an extra 20% damage on top of the ridiculous amount that we're already doing. And so, with 22 arrows remaining and only 8 Estus used, Gwyn, the Lord of Cinder, goes down to our extremely stupid and upsetting build. And there you go, Dark Souls 1 beaten with only 77 great arrows. In retrospect, knowing what we know now, I guess I could have saved about an hour of Athlete's Foot and killed the Ceaseless Discharge rather than going through the lava to get around him. It would have only cost about 5 arrows to drop him off the cliff too. Ah well, live and learn. But in any case, that's all I've got. Thanks again to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video, and until next time, take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.